Hello, friends. This is Anthony from Forest Ghost Conversations. Are you looking to get into the podcast game yourself? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me tell you, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has some tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Then, when hosting on Anchor, you can even distribute your podcast on listening platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more places. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And get this, everyone, best of all, Anchor is totally free. Just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week, alongside my wife, Elise King, we're going to discuss our experience at Star Wars Celebration. Now, before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok just by searching Force Ghost Conversations. We look forward to connecting with you on those platforms, and also please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. Now, this is typically the point of the show where we would do a quick rundown of the Star Wars news that has taken place over the course of the past week in our typical Cloud City Gossip segment. However, because of the abundance of news that came out during Star Wars Celebration, there frankly isn't a whole lot of news that came out this past week. And for a behind-the-scenes look at the podcast, we also recorded this episode in advance. So if anything came out across the week, we'll cover it next week here on Force Ghost Conversations. But as I alluded in the preamble, we are joined again by none other than our returning guest, Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations herself, Elise King. Welcome back.
Hello there.
Hello there indeed.
I can't help it now. All I hear is a hello there by Obi-Wan Kenobi when I...
Which one, older or younger Obi-Wan?
I really remember the younger one more.
Yeah. Hello there.
Yeah.
Instead of older. Hello there.
Yeah, no, that doesn't stick with me. But now all I can hear in my head is hello there.
Hello there, hello there, hello there. Well, it sounds like you still have Star Wars Celebration on the brain, even though we are a week plus out from it at this point. And thank you for joining us again on this episode to discuss the rest of our experience on at the convention. In our previous episode together, we did a little discussion / breakdown of our adventures at the Lucasfilm Showcase panel and the subsequent Obi-Wan Kenobi premiere. But I figured we'd do a quick walkthrough of everything else we did at the convention because it was a lot of fun. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was okay.
It was just okay. Yeah. Before we get started, any big standout takeaways, any overarching feelings, themes that still linger on with you over the course of our 3 days there?
Just the vibe. Like, I know it's not everyone's experience, but maybe because we managed expectations well, but
yeah,
there was like kind of a magic vibe in it. Like everyone was just so excited.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun to be around people who are fully expressing themselves in whatever way they saw fit, whether it was like a full-on cosplay costume or kind of like taking their own like version of a favorite character and making it fit their identity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was really impressed. I thought it was going to be completely overwhelming and exhausting, and we left energized, and I think that says a lot about the convention.
Great. Yeah, you had... Fortunately, like I watch a lot of past Celebration episodes and panels just because, I love... That's kind of like what I like to do in the free time. So you had like a sense of what kind of to expect, but it sounds like the preconceived notions that you had going into it were kind of subverted towards the end, and it came out really positive overall as an experience at Celebration. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely positive. I don't know if it's something I'd be like, let's do it every year.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is, it's a commitment,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really enjoyed it and was pleasantly surprised.
Great. Well, let's get into our overall experience with the convention. We've talked already about the Lucasfilm Showcase panel that we were so fortunate to get into. But getting out of that panel, we basically got to enjoy everything else at Celebration because we had no other major panel lotteries that we got into. So everything else was queue lines and hoping for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like being able to mosey around, see all the cool things out there, all the collector's items, all the costumes, everything.
Mm-hmm, totally. So the next thing that we did, aside from getting lunch, which is immediately what we did after,
Which plug for the food because it was food trucks and not just like your standard convention.
yeah, not
food,
just the
so
Celebration standard food. Uh, they also had like a couple like drink gardens where you were able to get some cocktails throughout the.
Yeah, 2 to 4 is my tired time, as we like to say, and coffee usually doesn't do the trick,
Mm-hmm.
but a nice beer in the sunshine always does.
It does give you a boost of energy.
Yeah.
Somehow.
gets me refreshed and ready to go.
So the next panel that we did was after eating lunch, were able to go to the Star Wars Explained podcast, which is basically Star Wars Explained meets Force Ghost conversation, not Force Ghost, Force Center.
I know, it just rolls off
I know
the tongue.
it does roll off the tongue so well. Star Wars Explained meets Force Center, which is a podcast that you, especially me, but you and I have really grown to love and appreciate over the last couple of years. Joseph and Ken over there at Force Center, and Jennifer Landa too. Don't want to forget her now that she's back in the fold. How would you rate that Like that was at the podcast stage. That was kind of like our first like experience, not in that huge arena panel setting.
Yeah.
This was like a real like convention center panel experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fun. I don't listen to Star Wars Explained or Force Center all the time, but you definitely have it on in the apartment. So I'm always hearing the voices, and you watch Movie Trivia Schmodown, so you see their faces on TV. So I mean, it's always kind of cool to be like, wow, someone I've watched on television is here right now in this room with me. But I think also it was just really cool because all of a sudden you're in like a more intimate setting with a bunch of people who do the same thing you do.
Yeah, precisely.
And it was just kind of fun talking to people. You know me, I'm not like a huge I love talking to strangers person.
Yeah, me either.
But it's you have something in common. But also it's just like, oh, you listen to these podcasts too? That's cool. And then of course we had just gotten out of that big panel and they reacted to it. So it was like reliving the glory moments. You're like, yeah, I was there.
Yeah, it was great that we got to be at that panel, and then Joseph and Ken weren't at that panel through a comedy of errors, as they would say. So they got to basically explain to them what happened at the panel beat by beat, and they got to react to it.
I like seeing first reactions in like that kind of setting. So like just in the moment for no other purpose than to react, and that was fun.
Yeah, overall great. We got to hang out with Joseph and Ken for just a tiny bit morsel of a second after the panel. And they told us that they do a larger meetup later on. So it was like, okay, we'll see ya.
Yeah, shout out to them. It was great to meet them. We had met Ken a couple times in DC. So shout out to Ken and Mark who tour around.
Yeah, they need to come back to DC soon.
Great comedy show. I think they just did something at the Troubadour. So check out their stuff. But yeah, it was fun to see them, especially because, again, their voices are in the apartment. I'm like, I feel like I live with 3 guys sometimes,
Pretty much. So after that panel, you and I did walk a little, like half of the show floor, basically. We kind of got our bearings a little bit here.
I was like, we're going into this with a plan. We have to do it sequentially.
Yep. We can't get overwhelmed. We have to slowly take our time, walk through the crowds.
Who haven't been, it's like, oh, you want this? Sure. You want another thing? There's 500 versions of it. You want a t-shirt? We have 8 million. It was
what was that one that was
overwhelming.
straight up to the ceiling of the convent, like a straight tower of T-shirts.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Like that poor person has to set it up and then take it down at the end of the convention.
I hope that's their only job.
I hope it is, but it probably isn't.
No, we know
You
it's
know, they
not.
wear many hats.
Yeah.
Well, we've already talked about the premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi extensively. So, but after that, we actually had like our most social event ever of the weekend, which was a podcast meetup that we were actually like a part of as Force Ghost Conversations. We were one of the talent that people wanted to come see and meet.
I know, that was so cool. And it was at the hotel that was near this convention center.
Yep.
So it was like the bar where everyone goes after the convention center, after the
Yep, saw a lot of
celebration.
famous people and some 501st members, and it was packed.
Yeah, it was just a fun, like, it was also the first night of celebration, so everyone was still like tons of energy. I haven't
Lots
been
of
on my
energy.
feet for 36 hours. And...
Lots of energy, and you and I had also been one of the few in that room to have seen Kenobi first.
We were just on such a high from it, but it was, I have to say, it was really nice to meet people, and it was people we started running into a lot.
Yep, definitely.
So that was really, it seemed like a tight little community, and shout out to Coffee with Kenobi. And Dan for creating such a cool community online with his live events, because
definitely
you got to talk to people that you had been like
with.
chatting
Absolutely, yeah.
So cool.
We have we have some followers of the podcast. We got to meet in person. Mary came up and introduced herself to us.
Yeah, shout out to Mary, so cool.
We got to talk to Ross, who then we later saw get a tattoo at the convention,
which looks great, by the way.
Did I tell you he was a finalist for like the competition?
That's, I believe it with
like,
the detail
wow,
of that
was excellent. So all the work that he put into that over months, he was telling us to like pick out the artist and get the art drawn and like get it all figured out.
It just shows that like everyone has their own Star Wars journey, and you can come and like, yeah, you're going to talk about Star Wars, but then you're also hearing about things like, oh, this is what this moment meant to me in the film, or like, this is how I connected with my son, or, such like life defining moments, or like those moments that kind of stick in your brain as you think about like what your life's been like.
Yeah, so we got to meet Dan Z, Tom Gross from Coffee with Kenobi as well.
Yeah, that was
fun. Craig from Reading Between the Reels, Dennis from Podcast Stardust.
I know, it was just the whole crew was there.
We got to meet, and then we of course started hanging out with these people and running into them over the course of the convention. So
we were waiting in line with them. True celebration fans. When you wait
really
in line
gonna.
Together.
Yep, I think at the end we'll kind of do our like some tips for things, and definitely one of those is make friends and get them to hold a spot for you in line so you can do something else.
Yeah, so you can go to the bathroom, get food,
come back. Yep. So that was our Thursday. Moving on to Friday, the first thing that we really wanted to do that we the real theme after that Thursday was manifesting things to happen.
I was like,
shout out to Craig from Reading Between the Reels, who like really started this mantra for the weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
But we made it happen. Our after that panel, the Lucasfilm Showcase panel, we were like, we're doing that Mandalorian experience thing. So we're not going to talk about it extensively in this episode. We'll do that. It deserves its own episode.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing we did on that Friday. And then we walked a little bit more of the show floor after that.
Yeah, it was crazy to see all the cool art. I think like how many great different medias there were that were like portraying really memorable Star Wars moments. If anyone hasn't gone and like watched any of the streaming of the live celebration feed, it's worthwhile just going to see what they had on the floor, because some of the art is like really fantastic.
We really get a sense of like how Star Wars has seeped into literally every aspect of like anything. Because like we'll see like watches that are Star Wars, fanny packs that are Star Wars, fine jewelry that is Star Wars, fine art collecting pieces that are Star Wars based. Like everything permeates into the Star Wars.
Also, just like fandoms can look so different. Like there's pin collectors, there's action figures, and like you can go like scour through buckets of action figures to find the best one. Like
all levels of it, right? Your little like 3 3/4 inch rinky dink action figures that are like basically just plastic molded together versus hand sculpted sculptures that are like so
Yeah.
lifelike in their design.
Yeah, and then there was like a quarter of the floor was all dedicated if you wanted to get a tattoo, and then
Yeah.
another one was like, oh, we're gonna give you arts and crafts supplies if you want to like build your own Star Wars scene
Yep.
and take it home. Like endless possibilities.
Let's
You,
just say
you had to control yourself.
Oh, definitely. You gotta know you're gonna spend money.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But you also, when you're on the floor, you get to experience like the unintangibles that you would never think in a million years you'd run into. For example, do you remember that like that Mandalorian cult circle mosh pit that we just randomly stumbled upon?
Yeah, when they're running in a circle and then
Running-
they just start screaming.
And then started screaming, chanting out these like cultish ritual things. They're like, I don't even know if this is canon or not. Where are they pulling this from? How did they create this?
We saw the stormtroopers marching.
Yep.
We saw the running of the ice cream.
The running of Wilro Hoods. Yep.
Yeah. Also, just so many cool cosplay and costume. Like
For
it was.
sure.
I can't even believe how talented people are. It was
Yeah.
so fun to see all of that stuff. And like I have to say, the Mandalorian costume is so effective.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what you look like underneath, you are the most badass person in the galaxy when you have that armor on. You look
If
so
you told me
cool.
this is the way, I'd say yes, sir.
Yeah. Also, just like people had built their own droids and were rolling
Yeah,
around. I
that was
thought they
neat.
were like official droids sanctioned by Lucasfilm, and then it was like, no, I built this droid, and
Nope.
it's like,
I just do robotics.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep. People's in their side hobbies are very fascinating.
Yeah, it was. And I will say, like, there is a little bit of the mania of like, gotta get to the Funko Pop station or whatever. But you and I decided early on we just were gonna give up. Like that wasn't.
We're here to experience, not to shop.
Yeah, like that's not our Star Wars experience this time. At least,
exactly. Well, speaking of experiences for the Friday, we got to go to 2 major panels for the day. The first being the Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary panel.
Mm-hmm.
As a person that fell in love with young Hayden Christensen at the time, and you got a place in your heart for that era of Star Wars, how did it feel being in that panel?
It was just kind of like, wait, it's 20 years? Like, what's happened? What's happened?
Where did time go?
Yeah. How old am I? What? But it was also just fun to see people come out and really celebrate. I honestly think people, obviously Ewan McGregor has come out and said like how much it means to him to like have celebration, and they came out, which was fun.
Yes, yeah.
He and Hayden Christensen came out, so that was always a good time to have them on stage. But also just like all of the set design, all of the people behind the scenes, like they got their moment in the sun, and it was just nice. Also to have everyone in the room like really like the prequels.
Sure, exactly. A full room of people at like episode 2.
Yeah, just because you're like, oh, this is all love here, and we all have significant memories attached to this film, even if it's just someone who fell in love with Hayden Christensen and was devastated when he realized he was a bad guy. I mean, it's just there are a lot of nice moments. But I mean, you're the one who watched Attack of the Clones 300 times when you were young, so you were thrilled.
I was on another sphere of existence, let's just say. I mean, let alone Hayden and Ewan, because we almost got desensitized to them because of how we kept running into them at panels.
I don't know. Our voices hurt out.
Yeah, it's true. But like,
so loudly.
What a panel of Star Wars royalty, right? When you have, let alone Ashley Eckstein, who came out in that fire outfit.
Yeah.
Fortunately, this panel was streamed, so you can watch it at home if you
cool, like,
go rewatch
almost.
it if you didn't get a chance to.
Tano tuxedo.
Yes, the Tano tuxedo in a way. Of course, Anthony Daniels, C-3PO was there. Timora Morrison.
Oh my god, I forgot the best part of the panel.
Timora Morrison and Daniel Logan, both Django and Boba Fett.
How could I forget? They were the best. I'm sorry. God bless Ewan and Hayden, but Tamora and
Yeah,
Logan,
yeah,
right?
Daniel Logan,
Daniel
yeah.
Logan. They were so funny together. Please go watch this panel online. They like said all these cool, funny stories about them and like how their roles on set seeped into their personal lives and their personal relationships with each other. And it was just so hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Tamora Morrison is a freaking star, man. Like
Yep,
he
yep,
commands that stage, and Ewan McGregor was on it. Like
yep.
that
It
says a
was
lot.
wild. It was wild. And some Lucasfilm royalty too that we've come to know over the last couple of years. John Knoll from ILM, Doug Chang who does all like the
Doug
concept
Chang, man.
artwork and production design, as well as Matthew Wood, who does a lot of the sound effects of Skywalker Sound.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time talking about the seismic charges in that panel. And did I eat up every second of it? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you were like, I think date 5 or something when we watched Star Wars together. You were like, this is the best part. And then it was the seismic.
I was like, wait for it.
And I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool.
And now when it came out in the Book of Boba Fett, you're just like, yeah.
I was like, it's that thing that you like that explodes in space.
Yep. But they did tell that great story of, well, first off, Daniel Logan and Tamara still have this great father-son relationship with each other that they were just ratting on each other the entire panel, which was hysterical. But when Ewan and Hayden came out, and then Ewan was talking about this acting experience that he had with Daniel, where when Obi-Wan first meets Boba Fett at Camino, and he's supposed to give them this like unapproving, suspicious look.
Yeah.
He's like, George wasn't like giving him the direction that he wanted to get out of the performance out of Daniel, young Daniel.
Are you gonna do the accent?
And no, I'm not gonna do the accent. But he did, and then Ewan was like, just pretend like I've made like I just farted and it stinks really bad. And then that's the face that's the take that they use, is his face at that scene. So just think about every time you watch that scene in Attack of the Clones now, that's what's going through their minds. What
was funniest to me was he remembers that moment, but he doesn't remember the entire fight scene on Camino in the rain. He's like, I don't remember anything. Like, it was just cold.
I just like how Tamora Morrison was like, why am I getting wet when Stuntman over there is not getting wet?
I know. Oh, my favorite was when he said to you, and like, I was trying to be cool. I was trying to out-cool you.
Yes, everyone was trying to out-cool themselves on set. And let me tell you, we've seen some pictures resurface from this era recently.
No one's cool.
Boy, were they cool.
No. Y2K fashion immediately meant no one was cool.
Y2K fashion is still in.
No.
If you believe.
No, I don't.
Guess what? In another 5 years, it'll be recirculated.
Nope, don't care.
H&M, it'll only be serving up looks.
Is it happening now? I don't care because it doesn't matter.
Well, it's a sign of the times, Elise. It's a sign of the times. Well, we also got to just hang out in that same arena stage for the next panel that we went to, which was all about the parks and Star Wars, Disney parks and Star Wars. We basically did a rundown of like the Galaxy's Edge and how it came together. It talked about Smuggler's Run, and it was mostly a trailer and hype panel for the Galactic Star Cruiser. But do you have any lingering memories from this experience, Elise?
It was fun to be there just because, I mean, you and I like the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to Disney, just because, it takes a lot of work to make those rides.
Yeah.
If you watch it simply to see how they make the Millennium Falcon ride.
Really cool. Really cool.
That was fascinating. I was like,
it doesn't ruin the magic in its own right, because it's like magic in its own right to see how the magic is made.
I mean, they do such a good job of immersing you in the moment that you're going to immediately forget about anything else as soon as you get in the ride. But
totally.
How they created it and like how it works on the back end is just like, woo, mind blowing.
Yeah, and we got to see the people we see on those Disney documentaries all the time. Pretty much Scott Trowbridge leading the charge.
You know you're a nerd when like Imagineers come out on stage and you're like, yeah, because you're just like, I've seen. It means
you worked on Star Tours.
Yeah, you're the vision behind all our favorite parts of the park. Yeah, so that was fun. It was a good way to end the day.
Great way to end the day. We went and had dinner and then hung out. Very, very relaxing Friday evening. And then we watched the fireworks. So it was Star Wars night at Disneyland, which we didn't go to, but we did
I would not have survived Star
we
Wars
would not
night.
have done that, and then done a whole nother day of the convention, and then California Adventure. So we was very smart what we did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very, very proud of that. We did get to see John and Dave when we went to.
No, let me correct. I saw John and
you
Dave
did see
and
them,
pointed
and
it
then
out to you.
I saw the back of their heads.
Yeah, we were walking out of the hotel and they walked by and I was like,
hello there.
I see it. Just you can't help but want to go there.
I know. That's why we start every episode with this. But we did see them, and that was really cool too. But intangible things about, again, the things you don't expect are the fun,
You're
the best parts.
You're just closer to all these people you've seen on TV so much more.
Exactly. So Saturday, our last day at the convention, because we took Sunday off and went to California Adventure to kind of decompress from the Star Wars of it all.
Yep.
We went first to the Celebration store to pick up some things.
That was probably the longest line we went.
Was the longest line. We didn't get the Lightspeed lane reservation for it. But once we got in line, it did eventually start kicking itself moving forward. And let's just say we knew what we wanted to buy there, which was helpful.
Yeah, we went in, we got out.
Yeah, it was helpful having the list ahead of time of here are the exclusives for the convention. And we weren't going for the Diamond Grogu, which was
yeah, that's when you also got a little bit more of the convention mania, when it's people were trying to find those really exclusive things, like at the premiere when they were giving out those special Pringles cans.
Yes, people were fighting over them.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna step back, wait for my T-shirt, and
I don't need Pringles or Frosted Flakes. I don't need that.
No. I don't care what they're selling on eBay.
Patience is a virtue for sure. So the Celebration store was really cool. I did like that a lot. But what we did after that was, I think, some of the best stuff of the convention, which was the cosplay competition.
Oh boy, that was so impressive.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, as someone who didn't know cosplay meant you had to make it yourself, to then go to this competition and see what people did and how much time they spent, molding plastic, sewing, dyeing their own fabrics, placing individual beads, embroidering, I could not believe the artistry we saw.
Could not either, yeah.
And shout out to the Bad Batch crew who did the whole thing with an upgraded or older Omega. I was like, oh, my people.
They were great. They were great. That Geonosin that won was astounding.
There were they got on stage and I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Can you remember that Grievous?
The Grievous, yes.
Was excellent.
Even how they go online, go on Twitter, I guess, and just look up Celebration cosplay
competition. Yeah.
All of the cool people from the cosplay competition are immediately on the floor because they're so impressive.
Mm-hmm. People are taking pictures with the R2-D2 Hulkbuster.
Yeah, it was so cool. And also it wasn't just how well can you replicate, but how well can you take those ideas and make them your own?
Yeah.
I liked how they had different categories, and it made me want to see more of that in the future. And then also it inspired our brother-in-law.
It did. Yep, our brother-in-law Joe is now inspired to create his own clone armor set. Fortunately, he has his own brother has a 3D printer, and it will allow him to print off pretty much all the basics for creating this armor set. And he wants to recreate Rex.
And he's so creative, and he does all the house improvement stuff that I'm like, he's gonna get that Rex armor down to a T, including all the wear and tear.
That paint and the wear and tear, I have full faith and confidence to see how it turns out.
We have to note though that he is older Rex.
He does. He has a very, very fabulous beard.
So he is Rebels
So if
Rex.
he dyes it white, he will look like a really great older Rex.
And he's bald, so it's
and he's already bald, so
perfect vibe. And he's super strong, so
hey, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's a great way to introduce his new Padawan into the Star Wars galaxy.
I know. A mini Ahsoka.
Well, that was a great competition. And then after some lunch, we did go over to the Force Center meetup, which we got to say hi to Ken and Joseph again and have a bit more of a lengthier conversation with them. And it's good to chat with some friends
Yeah, to see their fans too and be like,
Yeah.
why do you listen to them? Blah, blah.
And the last panel that we went to, we tried to get into the archives panel on that Saturday, but lo and behold, a lot of people want to go check
We
out the Lucasfilm
underestimated that.
archives. We thought that we could just walk right in, but boy, were we wrong. Fortunately, our pals Coffee with Kenobi were on the podcast stage at the same time, so we pivoted quickly and found our way right in there.
Yeah, that was a nice little plan B.
Good plan B, great discussion. Got to hear from Dan Madsen, who basically started Star Wars Celebration.
That was cool to hear.
And then Dan and Tom went through their top 5 Kenobi moments.
Yeah.
And Force Ghost Conversations' own Anthony King got to go up on stage and chat a little bit about Kenobi for a second.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it was nice that they let other people come up. If it's recorded, right? So
it is recorded. Yep. They can go download it now.
I charge all of you to watch that episode or listen to that episode and come back to me and ask the question, was there some fanaticism with how much they love Kenobi? Because I think he's a bit more convoluted than they made him appear.
I know you're gonna be on this hill forever.
Bring me back so I can be on this hill.
Do you have the high ground?
I do.
Is it over?
Right. I'm right.
All right, Elise. Well, that basically concludes our entire celebration experience over the course of those 3 days. But
you saw how he skipped by my Obi-Wan Kenobi opinions.
We could have a whole episode talking about that alone.
Just want to say that my opinions are out there, they're valid, and I'm right.
And they are out there, and we do appreciate most and all viewpoints here.
Most and all? That's the most political Jedi thing I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. Very Qui-Gon of me.
more like Mace Windu of you.
Mace Windu would have said, no.
Yoda of you?
Yoda would have said, interesting.
That's basically what he said.
Kind of, but nicer. Mourn for them, do not. Rejoice that they're dead.
Shaking my head, audience. Shaking my head.
Well, now that we've successfully survived a full Star Wars celebration, I'm sure many at home
we also thrived.
We did thrive, very, very much so. I'm sure many at home are wondering how they can make the most out of their celebration experiences in the future. So what are some tips and tricks that you would recommend to our listeners who may be thinking about going in the future or went this year and maybe didn't have such a great time?
I have a lot.
Okay. Dish them out.
First one is, if you can't afford it, I think it's worth the 4-day pass, even if you don't go to all 4 days.
Yep.
Just because us going on 3 days really took the pressure off of trying to cram everything we could possibly want into 1 to 2 days, because there is so much, and it does let you just kind of absorb the things around you, absorb the scene, lets you pivot if you want to.
Yeah.
So if you can't afford it, I think it's worth it. Second is really manage your expectations. Like when we learned it was a lottery system for the panels, we kind of were like, we need to expect we're not going to get any.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to figure out, can we wait in line for standby for one of the fillover rooms if it's really important to us, or okay, if we can't get into those panels, do we go to the live stage where we can at least hear interviews from the same people that show up to those events? Or do we just find the other really cool things there and hype ourselves about that? I think getting into the first panel was a dream, but we had done a pretty good. I mean, I think to be realistic, we would have probably been like, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Especially after learning they weren't going to film them.
Yep.
But there were a lot, we didn't do anything at the live stage, which is where you see everyone interviewing all the celebrities, because there was just so many other things to do. But I think we would have made that a priority if we weren't at the celebration stage.
Probably.
My final one is, or I guess two. Third one is be prepared to wait in lines.
Sure.
There are dozens of events every day. you can't go see them even if they're not at the same time because you have to wait in line. Like even that smaller one about the archives, we should have been in line for. So that's why you and I were like, all right, what's our top 2 things we want to do?
Yep.
Attack of the Clones. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to get in. So we did line up an hour and a half early, or we planned an hour and a half early, and we walked by and we saw it was already starting to queue. So we got in line 2 hours early, which it's a lot, but it was worth it because it was what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So not trying to cram everything in and giving yourself that time to wait. You know, put your Kindle app on your phone,
Yep.
bring a book, make friends around you.
Yep.
I think that's the last point is like, if you're going alone, we saw a lot of people go alone.
Yeah, it's definitely doable.
It's definitely doable. I think it would still be fun. But it is nice if you can make friends, at least to be like, hey, can you hold my spot while I go grab a sandwich? Because it's a lot to try to fit it in and not like leave that area. So yeah, those are my big ones. Waiting in line sounds like a bummer, but I have to say the energy in the room was so good that it didn't really bother me. And also what they presented on panels and the enthusiasm all of the crew and like celebrities brought were so infectious that you're like,
totally.
That was worth it, you know?
Totally.
So did I cover everything?
You covered just about all of them. The only ones I could think of are like, take care of yourself too. Like, it's just a convention. It's just, you're meant to have fun, and you can't have fun if you're A, dehydrated, if you're B, hungry. So make sure you have either snacks or make sure you go get something to eat. Like, take care of yourself.
They let you bring in food and water.
They
do it.
They do. They had a great security system there. I felt entirely safe the entire time in terms of that. So
I can't believe we didn't get COVID.
We didn't. We were very lucky we did not get COVID. Very lucky on that front. And on that same regards too, and I think you and I definitely took advantage of by, don't be too proud. Take a seat if you need to. Sit on the floor. Get off your feet. You're going to be standing a lot the entire course of the convention at certain points, and when you can, take a seat. Right? If you're in line, don't be too proud and stand the entire time. Take a load off.
Yeah, sit down, man.
Sit down. Get to the panel early so you can get a good seat and relax in a good chair.
I will say too, one thing that we didn't do is we didn't do any of the parties at night outside of the podcast meetup. Like, I know there's the 501st party. There was that like
Mosh Isley.
Oh my gosh, that emo party is hilarious. There was Star Wars night.
Yeah.
Like, I know there were a lot of people who were like, okay,
know your limits.
I'm going to pick a morning panel, then I'm going to go back and rest, and then I'm going to go do everything at night. You and I just knew ourselves, and we're like, we will not have a good time the next day if we're up that late.
Totally.
So
just that's my last thing would be really know yourself. And I think I just echo again, just to reiterate how important that is. Like, picking the 2 things of each day that we really want to do, and then knowing what we needed to do in order to get those was really good for, I think, our like psyche going into the celebration experience, because then if we got those and we got to see anything else, we weren't just like, those were added bonuses. We weren't really disappointed ever. And if we didn't even get into those, we know we made a valiant effort to try.
Yeah. And we had a plan B.
And always have a plan B. That's another thing. Like, there's always something else to do. And just realize you're not going to see it all. Just be okay with that. Right.
Which is why they'll have more.
They're going to have more
and more and more and more.
And go multiple days so you don't feel like you have to do it all in one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Elise, for coming on the show and for chatting about our experience about Star Wars Celebration. It sounds like you'll be back for another one in the future one of these days. Maybe not the next one or the next one after that, but maybe that third one.
I'll be back for sure.
You'll be back.
We've
got friends that we got to check in on now. So
yeah, friends we got to check in on. I'm waiting for like more and more and bigger Bad Batch.
We got to get into a Bad Batch panel one of these times. Unfortunately, when we took off Sunday, we didn't realize that would be Bad Batch day.
No, that's okay. It's okay. But yeah. That's it. I'll be back.
We'll be back. We'll be back, everybody. You heard it here, Force Ghost Conversations. We'll be back at a Star Wars Celebration one of these years. Well, thanks again, Elise, for coming on the show. To those at home listening, thank you again for listening and for coming back to Forest Ghost Conversations each and every week. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever listening site that you choose. Do it. And be sure to follow us on all the social media channels: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We'll be on all those platforms, and we look forward to connecting with you on there. So with that, Elise, thanks again for coming on the show. May the force be with you all, and Elise especially. I love you more than most. Bye.